Let me ask you something, honestly. Have you ever spent hours studying, felt busy, felt exhausted, and then sat in the exam hall only to realize your brain was completely blank? That moment hits differently. You didn't slack, you didn't ignore your books. You tried, you sacrificed sleep, you canceled plans, you stared at notes until your eyes hurt, and still nothing showed up when it mattered. That's one of the most frustrating experiences a student can have, because at that point, it's not about effort anymore. It feels personal. It feels like something is wrong with you. I remember nights like that clearly, sitting at my desk, rereading the same page again and again, highlighting lines until the paper looked like a rainbow, writing notes that looked
No big
impressive but
deal.
meant nothing the next day. I told myself, I'm studying, I'm doing the work. But when I tried to explain what I'd just read, even to myself, my mind went blank. That's when I realized something uncomfortable. Most studying doesn't actually create learning. It creates activity, it creates familiarity, but it doesn't create memory. And that difference is everything. The biggest mistake students make is confusing familiarity with mastery. When you reread notes, rewatch lectures, or passively scroll through summaries, your brain recognizes the information. Recognition feels good, it feels safe, it feels productive. Your brain says, yeah, I've seen this before. And your brain mistakes that feeling for understanding. But recognition is not memory. Memory is the ability to pull information out of your brain without seeing it. In an exam, there are no notes, no highlights, no videos playing in the background. There's just you, a question, and whatever your brain can retrieve on its own. And this is where most students lose. Science has been very clear about this for years. Learning doesn't happen when information goes into your brain, it happens when information is pulled out. This is called retrieval practice, and it's one of the most powerful learning mechanisms we know. Every time you try to recall information, even if you struggle, your brain strengthens the neural pathways connected to that knowledge. Each attempt slightly rewires your brain. Even getting it wrong helps because your brain adjusts based on feedback. That's why testing yourself works better than rereading. That's why explaining concepts out loud works better than highlighting. That's why teaching someone else makes information stick so deeply. Active recall feels harder, and that's exactly why it works. Your brain treats effort as a signal that something matters. When learning feels effortful, the brain pays attention. When learning feels easy, the brain assumes it's not important. Another reason studying feels slow is that students try to understand everything perfectly on the first pass. The brain doesn't work like that. The brain learns in layers. Fast learners don't aim for perfection at the beginning. They aim for structure. They want the big picture first, the main ideas, the framework, the logic of the topic. Once that structure exists, details attach naturally. Without a framework, details float around with nowhere to land. They feel confusing. They disappear quickly. That's why memorizing isolated facts feels impossible. Think of your brain like a filing system. If there are no folders, every new piece of information gets lost. Fast learners build the folders first. This is why skimming before deep studying works. This is why outlining a topic before memorizing details saves time. This is why asking, "What is this about?" matters more than, "Can I remember this word?" Another massive factor is attention. Your brain cannot deeply encode information while multitasking. Every time you check your phone, your brain drops context and reloads it again. That switching comes with a cognitive cost. It burns mental energy. It weakens memory formation. It makes studying feel exhausting. That's why long study sessions filled with distractions feel draining but produce very little result. You're not tired because you learned a lot. You're tired because your brain kept restarting over and over. Deep learning requires uninterrupted focus, not for hours, but in short, protected blocks. And here's something most students get wrong. Studying longer does not mean studying better. Research shows that learning efficiency drops sharply once attention declines. Past that point, you're not learning more, you're just getting tired. Fast learners stop earlier, not later. They study until focus fades, then they stop. They let the brain rest. They return when attention is fresh again. This protects memory formation and prevents burnout. Grinding through exhaustion feels disciplined, but it's inefficient. Your brain learns best when it's alert, not depleted. Emotion plays a much bigger role in learning than most people realize. When learning feels boring, meaningless, or stressful, the brain deprioritizes it. Stress signals danger, boredom signals irrelevance. In both cases, memory formation suffers. But when information feels meaningful, relevant, or connected to a goal, learning speeds up dramatically. This is why explaining concepts in your own words works so well. This is why relating material to real-life examples improves retention. This is why asking, "Why does this matter?" changes everything. The brain remembers meaning, not just information. When studying starts feeling illegal, it's not because you found a cheat code. It's because you stopped fighting how the brain works. You stopped trying to brute force learning with time and pressure. You stopped mistaking activity for progress, and you started working with biology instead of against it. Studying fast isn't about shortcuts. It's about precision. It's about knowing which actions actually change the brain and which ones just make you feel busy. Once you understand this, something shifts. Hours of rereading collapse into minutes of real progress. Studying stops feeling like punishment. Confidence increases, not because you're doing more, but because what you're doing finally works. And the craziest part is, you don't feel rushed. You don't feel overwhelmed. You feel calm because your brain is actually learning. That's what real studying looks like. Not harder, not longer, just smarter, the way the brain was designed to learn in the first place.